like this. Shalom and good day, everyone. This is our family gathering we're having today to study the Most High calendar and his mysteries. And we want to be y'all shalom. Just give me a sec. I'm just trying to go back to my screen that I was on. There we go. And what y'all see before you is a picture of Enoch's calendar based on the 364 days. Okay. We first would like to open up in prayer first. Make sure that my recorder is on again. Yep. Okay. So we're going to open up in prayer. If you can face the east, my brothers, uncover your head, for it means that the Messiah is the head of you. Sisters, we cover our head, for it represents that we're under the same power and authority that is over our husband's heads or over our brother's head. Okay? In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, Father, we come before you this day. Father, we ask that you bless this gathering today. Father, give us your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of your calendar and your mysteries. We want to say thank you, Father, for we are learning how merciful and graceful and how loving you are. For you truly love Adam. You truly love us, Father, and you show it in all things, whether it be in the heavens or in the earth. Your love is manifested in many ways, and we thank you. We also pray for our brothers and sisters for whatever they are praying unto you, Father, that you fulfill it according to your will. Hold on, y'all. I have a high pitch. Let me unplug this speaker right here. We pray that you answer their prayers according to your will, Father. We also pray that you keep all evil from us, Father, at all times, but also give us the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding of how to deal with evil, how to fight with evil, not in the carnal way, but in the spiritual way. For you let us know we are the sons of Adam, meaning that we are gods, through the old G-O-D-S. And it's time for us to tap into that power that dwells in our bowels. It's time for us to operate as Adam against the evil that is in this world. So give us the knowledge and wisdom and understanding on how to tap into that. And Father, if I have not prayed anything else in this prayer, that we ask that you fulfill it according to your will. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, so be it. Okay, everyone, today what you see before you is a picture of the Enoch calendar that's based on the 364 days. Take this time now to pause your screen to take a look at this, for you see that there are 4 divisions, okay? Within this year, we have 4 seasons. And in the prior family gathering, we talked about how that came to be, and that occurred after the flood happened, and dealing with the covenant that Yahuwah established with Noah when he came out of the ark. So watch that video to get the understanding of how we came to have 4 divisions within the year, which means how we came to have spring, summer, fall, and winter. Okay. Now we're going to look at the agenda. As far as the date, let me see. I need to give y'all the date for today. As far as your date, take this on out. Matter of fact, why am I typing? I should pull it up. But anyway, I will do off the top of my head. We are in the month of Tebet, which is the 10th month. And the day of this month is the 18th day, for we are in the daylight phase of this day. Okay. And the year we are in the 8th day from Adam, which is the 13th day from creation. far as the date with Enoch, with his 10 weeks, we are in the 8th week of Enoch's 10-week prophecy. Very important to know when studying the biblical prophecies. Okay, that is Yah day. I need to put over here. So you will have, let me highlight this. Okay. Now let me give you the heathen date. The reason why I say heathen, because it is a heathen calendar. It does not come from the Most High himself. This comes from Satan. Okay. So their day is January the 2nd in the year of 2021 AD. And their day of the week is named Saturday, which actually is Saturday day. And if you have studied the conjuncture that they label as the Great Conjuncture that happened on December the 21st, you would know that the planet Saturn in the heavens represent Satan, okay? Which makes sense when you look at the word Saturday, okay? Because when you study about, how can I say this? When you go to Revelations chapter 2 and chapter 3, it talks about them of being of the synagogue of Satan. And when you see what day they worship, they honor the Saturday, the Saturnine day, for they know whom they are worshiping. The masses do not understand who they are worshiping, but for those who are under the spirit teachings, we know what that day meant to them, for they are worshiping Satan. This is why the Bible labeled them as the synagogue of Satan. That's in the book of Revelations, chapter 2 and chapter 3. Okay. All right. Now we're going to look at the agenda. So we probably do a quick review of last week information, but not go in deep detail because we have a recording for that. I already done touched on December the 21st, dealing with the Great Conjunction. Okay. And that is a video on the channel to expound more on that. If you have not finished completing your 10-month calendar, please do so. The calendar link now is posted, so you can look at the calendar and compare your personal calendar to what is posted online now. As far as the requirements for this family gathering with studying the Most High calendar and his mysteries, it is required of you that you had read Torah with the gospel, which is the 4 books. In other words, you must read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, along with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay. The next requirement is that you are to observe the heavens, and you don't have to do it every single day. You can break it up. You can take a day to look at the heavens in the mornings before the light come up. You can take another day to look at the heavens in the noon. You can take the next day to look at the heavens towards the late afternoon, towards evening, or at the going down of the sun. And then you can take another day to look at the night. So you don't have to do this all in one day. But by observing the heavens, you would come to have a greater understanding of what the prophet Enoch has prophesied or written unto us. This is why it's very important to go out and observe the heavens. Remember what Torah teaches us. We have 2 and 3 witnesses. So the 2 witnesses that the Father created for us are the heavens and the earth. And these 2 realms work together, all right, giving you confirmation about his calendar, what we should be following. Because reading these books is going to give you the foundation. In other words, before you can build a house, you have to build a foundation first. And your foundation has to be rock solid. This will prevent you from being thrown to and fro. Okay. This will prevent you from falling into doctrines that can lead you astray from the Father, the Son, and the Ruach. Okay. So that's why we are requiring that you do these two things. Okay. We already discussed the function of the light. There's a chart, and for those who are in this gathering, have access to that chart. Okay. We will be touching a little bit on Mazzaroth, but not heavily, but we are still not finished with this subtopic. Okay. So probably in next week, we'll get back deep into it. However, today I have a special treat for y'all. We're going to look at, how can I say this? We're going to look at those who have a calendar that only consists of 364 days, and they're basing this calendar off of the sun. Okay, they're basing this calendar off of the sun. Now, before we get into this lesson, the Father now is reminding me I need to pull up the copyright. Thank you. So I'm going to pause this share so I can pull it up. Because I have to show that first. Because what I'm sharing with you is only for what's the word I'm looking for? It's only for educational purposes only. Okay, educational purposes only. Okay, so I'm going to go back to share my screen. So I have to show this first. Thank you, Father, for reminding me about that. Because this is something we got to have. Okay. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let me go back to this sheet. Okay. Now I do want to make this clear. The two brothers that I would share on their calendar record, this is not to go unto them to debate. I'm letting my brothers and sisters know this now. Those who are on this session with me and those who are listening to this video. This is not for you to go back and to debate to them, nor to make fun of them or to ridicule them, because when you're under the teachings of the Spirit, this is one of the things you will learn about the body of the Messiah. In the body of the Messiah, our brothers and sisters are on different levels of understanding. Okay? And as I'm speaking this unto you, the Father is reminding me what Mary Magdalene wrote in her book, because this is nothing new underneath the sun, y'all. Okay? You're going to be surprised. Even the disciples, the very disciples who was with the Messiah, even had this among them. I'm pulling my book out. Now on the channel, I do have Mary Magdalene book, and I do go into this chapter where you can see it word for word, but to save time, I'm just going to read it, just the same time. So I want you to really listen to what Mary Magdalene has written, that even the disciples had among them, who are the apostles. Okay. Let me see. I'm trying to see which paragraph to start at. Now, this is dealing with something that Mary has shared with her brothers on what the Messiah had given unto her. And this was a mystery that the Messiah has given unto her. So I'm going to start, let's see here. I'm going to start with Peter, okay? Everybody know about Peter, right? All right. It's in chapter 43, starting at verse 3. It's on page 81. And I'm going to say his name as written according to the Hebrew language, because this is how this book is based on. It's mostly based on the Hebrew terms. Shimon Kepha answered and spoke concerning these same things. He questioned them about Yahusha and said, did he really speak privately with this woman and did not openly to us? Are we to turn about and all listen to her? Did he prefer her to us? Okay. Verse 4. Then the Magdalene, this is Mary Magdalene, y'all, wept and said to Shimon Kepha, my brother Shimon Kepha, what do you think? Do you think that I have thought this up myself in my heart, or that I am lying about Yahusha? Only from the truth, again, I tell you that what I have said is the truth. Again, y'all gonna have to either get the book or just go to the video and find out what she shared with them. Okay? Because remember, Mary Magdalene was a disciple of the Messiah, and he had given her the greatest mystery. Okay? And it's deal with what will happen with the bride of the Messiah and the 144,000. All right, now I'm going to verse 5. And Levi, this is Matthew, y'all, answered and said to Shimon Kepha, Shimon Kepha, you have always been hot-tempered. Now I see you contending against this woman like the adversaries. But if the rabbi made her worthy, who are you indeed to reject her? Surely as his companion, Yahusha knew her better than all others. That is why he loved her more than us. Okay. Again, you got to read this whole book to understand why Matthew said what he said about Mary being the beloved one. That's what Magdalene means. She was the beloved companion. That is why he loved her more than us. Rather, let us be ashamed and do as she says. Let us put on perfect humanity and acquire it as she has done. See, he's letting you know she accomplished something greater than they did. She went to a higher level, a spiritual level. He goes on to say, and separate as he commanded us and preach the testimony of the Son of humanity, not laying down any other rule or other law beyond that which he gave us. So in other words, don't add to what the Messiah taught them. Follow the Messiah instructions. Now I'm on verse 7. And when they heard this, they was divided and argued amongst themselves. And therefore they began to leave separately and go forth to proclaim and to teach and preach what they understood of the words of the rabbi. So right here, this is a part I'm rating heavily on. When we look at these brothers' calendar, remember they're given the calendar based on their understanding. Okay. So this is why I'm asking you. Please don't debate with them. Please don't argue with them. They are given their calendar record based on their understanding. And I commend them for doing this because what I've been noticing on social media, many do not put this calendar on paper. Okay. They say a lot of things, but they won't put their calendar records on paper where we can observe and compare. Okay. So I commend these brothers for what they're doing. All right. But I'm using their calendars as only for educational purposes. Okay. So I hope everybody understand that. Now let us begin. And I will give these brothers, links where you can go to their pages and you can see it for yourself, because I give credit where credit due. I don't take no credit for nobody's work. Okay. Now the title of this lesson today is Enoch's Calendar, the overlooked error of the 364-day slaughter/sun keepers. And notice that I use the word overlook. I don't think, or I'm not aware it has come to their attention, I found a mathematical error. Remember I told you about the counter? There's math involved. There is some math involved, which makes sense because our Father is in all things, whether it's science, math, literature, history, cooking, he's into all things, and all things are in him. So with this is why I titled this, and I want you to focus on the word overlook, and I need to underline it, and I need to highlight it. I don't think they are aware of an error that I have saw in their calendar records. Again, this is for education purposes. And when I found this overlook error, y'all, it would confirm what I've been teaching y'all about your foundation. Remember, I don't care what books you are reading, whether it's Enoch, Josephus, Jubilees, Jasper, they all have to what? Come in agreement to what Torah say. Torah is the foundation. And what I mean by that, when it comes with the calendar, we got the first set of instruction in Genesis chapter 1. It said that what? His calendar must be made up of those three lights. That is the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. Now we're going to see what would happen when one only follow one light. Now I'm even guilty of this because most of the time in the past, I would only post the moon information. I didn't post the other information of Mazzaroth and the sun. So that's what I'm saying. This is a growing process. And what I learned in this walk is as he gives more, what the Father do, he tests you. He give you a little bit, this to see what you're going to do. And when he brings something to your attention, he looks at how you handle it. And depending how you handle it, it will determine if he give you more. Okay. So this is why I'm saying to you with those brothers, remember they gave their calendar based on what they understand. Okay. Now for those who are in this, let me see, who's in this session now, text my phone because I don't want to open the chat. Okay, because we are recording right now. But if you need to text me a message, send me a text. That way I can get it. Okay, I better make sure I open it up too, so I won't miss anything. Okay, so I want to make that clear before we start. This is not to debate or not to belittle anyone or to bring anybody down. This is for edification purposes only. Remember what the Father said unto Israel by the prophet Daniel. I'm going to try you, I'm going to refine you, and I'm going to purify you. Okay? Even look at your own walk. Did the Father pour everything into you to where you were at now as far as with understanding what's in the Bible? No. We had to go through what? Stages. Just like as a babe. Before the babe can walk, he has to crawl. Well, that's the same thing. Okay? And then if we have some time, we'll talk about what we've seen in the heavens. Okay? All right. Let me minimize this. There. That's a lot better. Here I have here before you, I don't know if I had put it, okay. I put together a chart and we'll come back to that chart. This is dealing with, what is his name? Let me click on the video because I want to make sure I give the right name. Okay. I hope this pull up. There we go. This is dealing with, it comes from this video. So I hate all this stuff when it pops up. This comes from Truth Unveiled 777's channel, okay? And it comes from his video title, Scriptures Often Ignored 2021 Appointed Times in Ancient Enoch Calendar. Okay. And in his video, he shared, how can we get access to his calendar that he's following. So what I did, I clicked on this link here. So let me click on it. Okay. So this is what we're going to be using today. We're going to look at his calendar. I'm trying to think how I can post this to y'all. Okay, but I'm thinking the Father just remind me. Those who are with me on this section, they can see my screen. So we're going to be looking at this document here. Okay. So let me close this tab out. But again, this comes from Truth Unveiled 777. The next brother calendar record we're going to look at, Brother Jedediah. Okay. I need to pull him up on YouTube. I don't have his YouTube page. Hold on. I'm going to pause my share, y'all, so I can make sure I can find him. Okay. This is Brother Jedediah Malik on YouTube page. So what I'm going to do, let me copy and paste his link on this page. But the link we're going to actually go to is to his website. Now, how I found his website, he had it listed under About right here in this area. Okay. So we're going to actually go to that website. But this is Brother Jedediah Malik. Okay. We'll close that out. And you can find his calendar record under the tab. You'll find it under the Enoch calendar. Okay. And he lists his calendar for the year of 2020-21. And he does also list the one for 2018 to 2019. Now we do not have, I did not see a listing of 2019 to 2018, but that is not a problem because we can figure it out based on these two ones that we have. And you'll see why it's all important to keep a record of your calendars. Okay. Very important. Also on his site, you see right here on these tabs here under the Enoch calendar and the signs of the time, he gives the information on why he chooses to follow the sun, okay, for his calendar, okay. And again, they're going to attach it to Enoch, but those who are reading Enoch now, you have the first, second, and third book. You would learn that Enoch talk about all three lights, okay. But Brother Jedediah is explaining why he's choosing to only follow the sun, okay. So he gives information about that. He also gives information about the moon as well, okay. And he gives information about the 364 days, okay. This is the time when the sun was perfect. This is where he's getting that number from. And also Enoch talk about this. It's in First Enoch, okay, First Enoch. And then he also give you a creation week timeline as well, okay. So this is his site here. So we're gonna be looking at his calendar record, okay. So I told my family here to get your calculators out because we're going to do some math. Now, how do you know a person calendar is following what Torah has instructed us and following what the prophet Enoch has written? How do you know? Okay. How will you know? Now, for my family who's listening, if I have a brave soul, how How do you know, based on what, what we have been learning now, how do you know if that person calendar is following Torah and the prophet Enoch? I should say Enoch, Ezekiel, etc. Do I have a volunteer? Shalom.
The Sabbath will not always fall on a Friday. It'll shift from every month to another day, fall on a different day.
Okay, I'm going to repeat what you said. You said the Sabbath will not always fall on a Friday. It will shift from what? It'll shift from day to day, or I'm just going to interject. It's going to shift from month to month, right?
Yes, to a different day from month to month, yes.
And when the Sabbath is shifting, is that dealing with following a 364-day calendar, or is it dealing with following something else?
It's the sun and the moon, and so it's 365 because there's a error in there. Not an error, but for the lack of a better way to put it, there's a day of correction or something like that. Is that the proper way to say that?
Well, what you're saying, you kind of give us the whole shebang. You give us the whole thing. But I'm going to sum it up for you for those who are watching this. When the brother is talking about the Sabbath rotating or shifting, it is dealing with a calendar that is based on the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. And to help those who are watching to understand this, remember the sun circuit has more days than the moon circuit. In other words, a circuit is a year. So the Sabbath dates for the sun and the moon is going to be different. Okay. Even when you put the Sabbath dates on the Gregorian calendar, which is a heathen calendar, it's going to rotate because the Gregorian calendar does not follow the heavens, which is bringing me to this. And I can't remember which gathering it was, but we went over the 1582 era, and we also talked about the 1752 era of America. So basically, they realized they was not following the heavens. They was losing time. They was getting behind the sun, y'all. So when they made the correction, they didn't start on the correct day of the week. They started their day on Friday instead of Monday in the 1582 in Rome, Italy. So your whole weekly format is already messed up. So in other words, Saturday is no longer Saturday anymore. It could be a Friday or a Tuesday by now. Okay. They did a fine job messing that up. All right. So when I learned that error, because the Father was teaching me this, I said, okay, Father, what do I do? And he took me back to Genesis. And he told me, I'm going to walk you through this. So you know what is my Sabbath day. And you will know what is the correct day to keep the Sabbath, to keep the new moon, and the solemn and the 3 solemn feast days, etc. So he walked me from the beginning of the book to the Apocrypha and to the gospel, as well as many other books. Even Josephus will confirm this. Okay. And I do want to say this. I am aware what's in Josephus. I am also aware what the Gentile interjected. I'm aware of the Roman ancient calendar history, the Julian calendar history, the Constantine history, and the Gregorian history. What are people not understanding? There have been so many changes with the 4th beast calendar. You can't use it. It's not going to give you the sound date. It's not going to give you the sound day. You have to go back to Torah to get the correct day. Okay. So I just want to quickly throw out there. However, in the prior videos, I go in a deeper detail about this error so you can understand that Saturday is no longer Saturday anymore. I just got tickled when the Father, shared that information with me. Okay. So my brother kind of went for the throat here. Okay, so when you're following those three lights, you're going to find that your Sabbath is going to shift or it's going to rotate, whether it's dealing with the sun, whether it's dealing with the moon, or whether it's dealing with the fourth beast calendar known as the Gregorian calendar. Okay, but what I was looking for, when we're looking at other people's calendars, when they're not following these three lights, how do you know if their calendar is following Torah, Enoch? Where I can put first, second, and third Enoch, because a lot of people are not aware of his other books. Jubilees, Works of Josephus, and I need definitely to put down. Let me go back up here. We put up also put this prophet Ezekiel, and I'm gonna definitely put down the King James 1611 because it has the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha also has some important information in there as well, and the Gospel. I'm telling you, all of these three books will be a witness unto one another. Okay, so these are some of the books, y'all. It's many others. Okay, and also we have proof that the Israelites kept record of the days of the sun and the days of the moon, which I need to put down this book, Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, so we have many witnesses to confirm. Okay, so in other words, how do we know that a person calendar is following Torah and the prophets and all these other sacred books? How do we know, y'all? Now, we went over some of this information in the prior gatherings. Do I have anybody else that's willing to take a guess? I'll give a little hint. Do the three, oh, go ahead. Somebody, I hear somebody clicking over. I'll give you a little hint. Do the three solemn feast days have to fall in the right seasons? And what I'm talking about, like Passover / Peshat, Shavuot / Pentecost, and Feast of Tabernacles, known as Sukkot. Do they have to fall in the right seasons, which is the 4 divisions of the year? Do I have a hint? I'm giving y'all a hint. Do I have anybody?
No.
I think it has something to do with how, let's see, when they start their calendar year.
Okay, I'm giving y'all a hint. The question I'm asking,
Okay.
do the 3 solemn feast days, okay, do they have to start in the correct season?
No.
Based on what you know from Torah and the prophets.
Shalom, sis.
Yeah. Shalom.
Hi. Yes, they do, sis.
Yes.
Okay, they do. That's one of the biggest pieces you need to look for.
Well, wait a minute. She said they do, so I misunderstood. Can you restate the question just so I'm clear?
Yeah, I'm gonna restate.
I'm thinking about their calendar.
Okay. I'll get this speaker back on now. Hopefully I won't have no negative feed. Okay, hold on.
No, you're okay. Just my thought processes was off.
Oh, okay. Oh, my speaker not coming on. Hold on, y'all. Can y'all still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sis, we can hear you fine.
Yes.
All right, but my speaker, oh, wait a minute. I ain't got a plug part in the right thing. Hold on, y'all. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I did not have a plug.
Now we don't hear you at all.
I might have to get my headset. Hold on. How about now?
You're good, sis. You're good.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Now I got my speaker. I want to make sure my speaker on.
Okay, sis.
I'm going to rephrase the question for my brother because I was giving y'all a hint. I was asking do the 3 solemn feast days, which is Passover, Peshat, Shavuot, which is Pentecost, Feast of Tabernacles, which is Sukkot. Do they have to fall in the correct seasons, which are the 4 divisions of the year, which is spring, summer, fall, and winter? Do those feast days have to fall in the right season?
In the correct calendar, yes.
Yes, that's what you look for.
Okay.
And what would happen if they don't fall in the right season? Because I know 2 of them are heavily dependent on something.
Okay, can you restate that again?
Okay. What would happen if they do not fall in the correct season? Because I know 2 of them are heavily dependent on something.
You would celebrate, for example, Passover in the winter when you should be celebrating it in the spring.
That's right. Passover will be end up celebrating in the winter. And what must you have for Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread? What you got to have, y'all?
Was it barley or
wheat?
Wheat.
Barley.
Barley.
You got to have the barley. Yeah. Now we're bringing in the earth. Are y'all connecting it? Remember, you know, yes. we got the signs in the heavens as a witness, and then the earth manifested in the physical. That's the second witness. Remember, even the Father said what the heaven and the earth is his witness. Let me pull that up in scripture so y'all can see it, because we got several scriptures for that. Try to bring that up. He said, even the Father spoke this in Torah. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto ye go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. That's one of the many verses that I can prove unto you that the heaven and the earth can be called as a witness, and they can even testify against you. So as you see, eyes are always watching. Eyes are always watching. Right here, he tells the high priest Ezra, take heaven and earth to witness, for I have broken the evil in pieces and created the good, for I live, saith Yahuwah. Okay. Now let's go back to that question I was asking. So we just got the answer from my sister, and my brother. Did that help with clarifying? Did I make the question clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the 3 feast days must fall or occur in the correct season. For example, we just had, for Passover, you got to have barley. That is what is used to make the bread. You have no barley, you can't make no bread. Then you can't have no Feast of Unleavened Bread. Do you see how all this connected? I'm sitting here smiling, y'all, because these are things that are facts. They cannot be disputed. You hear me? In other words, these are things that if somebody wanted to debate about that, you know, you'd be raising your eyebrow. Why you want to debate about that? That's a fact. that is sound. Okay. Okay. Now for Peshat, if I say it right, no, for Shavuot, which is Pentecost. What must you have? Wait, no, what season? Now that I know this is gonna be a trick question, because I'm aware of what some Israelite believe, but I'm going by agriculture. I'm going by what the earth tells us, okay? For Shavuot, what must you have for Shavuot to bring the new meat offering, that's written in Leviticus, in the book of Leviticus, that must be made with leaven. What must you have for that? I have somebody?
You said what makes you have leaven?
For the feast, which is Pentecost or Shavuot, what must you have in order to make the new meat offering that is made with leaven? What do they bring to the high priest that have to be weighed before the Father or the Holy of Holies? What grain you got to have? Now we have barley for spring.
Wheat.
A wheat?
Wheat. Did you see what I'm getting tickled?
Who was that? Who was that?
Y'all see why I'm getting tickled? Again, we got two witnesses, heaven and earth, right? And those who work in agriculture are aware of these things because they use the heaven and the earth to know how to plant, how to sow, and when to harvest. Very important. Okay. So the second thing we learn now, that how do we know that if their calendar is following Torah, the prophets, and other sacred books, because we got to come in the whole volume of these books now, is that there are 3 solemn feast days, that is Passover, Pentecost, and Feast of Tabernacles, must fall or occur in the correct season. Okay. Same thing with Feast of Tabernacles. Think about all the stuff they've grown. They have grown grapes, dates, olives, almonds, wheat, barley, many things they grow to what? To prepare for winter. So if the Feast of Tabernacles occur too early or too late, it can affect what they will have stored up for winter. So either they can have a harsh winter. Yeah, in other words, they can end up having a harsh winter, almost about starving to death. Okay? Very important. Let's see. What else can we find or look for in a person's calendar to see if they're following Torah and the prophets? To know if their calendar is in line with the Father word. And I know what our brother Al touched on this earlier too. Now he mentioned the Sabbath, but he brought in something else. When we look at a person's calendar, how can we determine if they're following Torah, the prophets, and the sacred books? What else must we look for? Speak up, I can barely hear you. Speak up.
Anything like with the new moon? Did he mention the new moon?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, they got to have a new moon, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to put down as number 4. Let me go back. We won't do like the way I wanted to do. Okay, we're going to put down new moon, because that's dealing with what the prophet Ezekiel told us, right? As well as many others. But Brother Al hit on it. And it's in Genesis, y'all. Genesis chapter 1. What must their calendar consist of? Do I have
with the sun?
Okay. Something with the sun, right? What else? What did Genesis
Sun,
tell us?
Like sundown to sundown? No.
Keep going.
the moon,
Moon. What else?
Mazarah.
And Mazaroth. And when we look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, what did the Father tell us that what these lights are for?
Signs, seasons, days, and years.
Now he tells us that these lights are for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years. So these lights can tell us about the days, about when the, okay, let me back that up. These lights can tell us when the day begin to end. These lights can tell us when the seasons begin to end. These lights can tell us when the years begin to end. And they're also used as for signs, such as a blood moon is used to represent judgment, such as a solar eclipse to let us know judgment is coming. He has not forgot. Also, when we saw the great conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, we know what that means. He told us what is coming that will soon be manifested in the earth. That's done with the book of Thessalonians chapter 2, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, what is coming now. Amazing, ain't it? And who did he make these lights for? In other words, do the Father need these lights for himself?
For us.
He made it for us, Adam. Why did he make it for Adam? What in other words, what was he teaching Adam? He was teaching Adam
to observe the heavens.
Close, observe the heavens. By observing the heavens, what is going to teach you?
How to keep
track of time.
To look at the season.
That's right. That's right. He made them lights for us. He didn't need any lights. He know what time is. If he didn't, he couldn't tell you that the first decoration was what? The first day. But he made these lights for us. So we would know how to tell time, which is very important because when you get into the biblical prophecies, it's based on this calendar. It's based on these three lights. Okay. And then like my sister shared with us that their calendar must have a new moon day. Look at the prophets. And today we're having a reading challenge too. Thank you, Father, for reminding about that. We're having a reading challenge on Ezekiel chapter 40 to 48 with along reading with Isaiah 66 and Zechariah 14. And this word new moon is mentioned very heavily. And I'm so glad you brought this out, sis, because I'm in a home. This didn't come to my mind, but I'm glad you did. So their calendar also must have a new moon day, a new moon day. Okay, now these are basic. We probably can add a little bit more, but these are the highlights, okay? Another thing the Father's now bringing to my attention, if they're saying that their calendar is 364 days, then it must be what? They must have 364 days. The reason why I'm bringing this out, we're going to look at math, okay? If they're saying their calendar has a total of 364 days, it must not be a day less or it must not be a day more. Remember, in other words, look at the person's standards. What are the guidelines they have for their calendar that they're going by? And see if that calendar meeting their own guidelines. Okay. But we know for us, the sun would have 365 and a quarter or 366. Again, you have to read all of Enoch's writings. Can't come in part of his books. Got to come in all of his books. Okay. We also know that the moon would have about, I think it's 354 or 355. I can't remember 356. I got to follow up on that. Now, as far as the stars, which is Mazaroth, they have a different role. Okay. And we already learned, we learned most of the things about Mazzaroth last week, but we're still gonna be putting more in that subtopic next week when we come back together next week. Okay. Now, are y'all seeing that now? Or what you should be looking for? Whoever calendar you go to, or whoever calendar you're following, these are the things you must look for. Okay. Now let's first look at, I'm trying to see first where to go. I took some pictures. Let me see if I need to scroll down or just go to the site. Yeah, I'll just go to the site. It'd be a lot more easier so I can go between two screens instead of scrolling up and down. Let's first go to, I can't remember his name. It's like Truth and Ville 777. Let me first go to his website. So on his site, he shared with us his calendar record for the year of 2021 to 2022. So he's already giving you the dates for this upcoming year. Okay. And if you notice here, he said day 1 of Aviv. No, sorry, I'm reading this wrong. He said Aviv is the first month. That's another thing we need to add to the calendar. What month they're starting their calendar. That's another thing to look at. You want to look at if they're starting in their month of Aviv or if they're starting their month with another month. Okay. So we see here, let me go back to this one. We see here he's starting his first month with Aviv, and he said this month have a total of 30 days. Okay. And he's giving you the first day of this month. So he said it starts on Tuesday, March the 23rd, 2021 from sundown, okay? And this day and this month will end on Thursday, the April 22nd, 2021 at sundown, okay? So he's giving you a whole month. The only thing I wish a person would do will specify what is the first day. You know how we do on the calendar we follow. We make it clear what is the first day. For example, let me pull it up since we're using this for education purposes to compare. So I'm gonna put my screen on pause. And the reason why I say that I wish they would be a little more specific, because we are in the heathen's kingdom, and the way they taught us to look at time, it makes it difficult when we transition to the Father's calendar, because his day starts in between their days. So sometimes when they only give a one date on their calendar record, it makes it kind of hard to see what was the first day beginning and end, and what was the last day beginning and end. Okay, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I pull up the calendar. Just trying to find it, y'all. Got a lot of stuff in here. me just type it in to make it easy. Okay, it's coming open now. Okay, let me go back to share my screen. So right here, when you look at the 10th month, notice here how on this calendar, I list when the new moon day begins and ends. I'm trying to bring this back up. There we go. Okay, right here. Far as the world go, we saw the new moon on December the 15th at sundown. So that day we end on December the 16th at sundown. Okay, so that's why I kind of wish they would be a little bit more detailed, where we could actually see when that actual day begins and ends. So like, you know, right here, as you see it as the first day in the month, I give you the beginning day of that month. In other words, it would start December the 15th at sundown and end on December the 16th at sundown. Same thing towards the end of the month. I give you the day when it starts, which is, it was so far, because until we sight the moon, the last day in this month, we end on January the 12th at sundown to January the 13th at sundown. And you'll see why, because when we start doing the math, they can easily say, well, I meant that it goes over this day, or they could say, oh, I meant that it actually ended the day before. But it doesn't matter, because when y'all see these numbers, you're going to see a big discrepancy. That's why I wish, you know, there would be a little more detail on that. Okay. So we'll just go back to this brother calendar. So he gives you the date for the upcoming year, okay? And he gives you his and he gives you the feast days date based on, you know, what his calendar has, okay? Now we're gonna do some math. How do we know that his Passover day starts in spring and not in winter? I don't let one of my family members answer. How do we know that Passover starts in spring and not in winter? What two lights do we need to know this?
The sun? Is it the sun?
Yep, the sun, and what else?
Nazareth.
That's right. Those two lights work together to let us know when spring, summer, fall, and winter, when they begin and when they end. It's very important. Even there are going to be those that's going to have different dates of the equinox. Now I have to say this, because there's some may disagree or what we are following far as the dates of our equinox. For those who have listened to Yahuwah prophetic messages, you can check the video description box for that. The Father spoke how things are out of alignment now. So when we get to the equinox day, you can have slightly more instead of equal. In other words, day is supposed to be equal to night. Well, that's no longer happening now, because those who have been watching the heaven knows that what they've been observing in the sky has shifted now. This is why I say it's so important. It's not just put the calendar on paper. You need to go out and observe the heavens to see what you put on paper is correct. Okay. But those who've been watching the heaven, these are people who are in different countries who are more the ancient ways. They're not modernized. They would tell you there is a shifting, that's a shifting that has taken place. Even in the Most High prophetic message, he told you there was a shifting taking place. Okay. Most of you may not know this. Every time we have an earthquake, the earth is shifted from what they call the Atlas point. So this is why when we get to equinox day, we have a slight variation. In other words, daylight is no longer equal to night. Daylight can be 12 hours and 6 minutes, and night can be 11 hours and 4 minutes. Do y'all understand now? I'm sorry. Daylight can be 12 hours and 6 minutes, and night can be 11 hours and 54 minutes. Okay. To understand all these variations and changes and why we're no longer following a perfect sun or a perfect moon, you got to go back to the beginning. And it starts with Adam falling, as well as with other biblical events. And he gave the information to Enoch. And what you're going to find out with some of our brethren, they only read part of Enoch. They haven't read his other writings. Same thing with Jubilees. They read part of a scripture in Jubilees. And because they didn't read the other parts of Enoch, I can understand why they would follow a 364 calendar day. But if they had read the other writings of Enoch, they would realize that the Most High instructed something to occur in the heavens to prevent the moon from going in error. And that's all I'm going to say, because I know if I start talking on that, y'all, it'll be a long topic. But for those who do their due diligence, all you have to do is read 1st and 2nd Enoch. Even if you don't make it to the 3rd Enoch, if you read 1st and 2nd Enoch, you will see what the Father do to correct the moon. And it's manifested. It is manifested in the heavens. But they missed it because they don't take the time out to observe it. Now, I'm not talking about these brothers, but I'm just speaking in general. From what I have observed with those who are teaching the people the calendar, they are more focused on teaching them from a paper, okay, instead of showing them, taking the results on paper and going out in the heaven and the earth and showing the people that the heaven and the earth are manifesting these things. Again, remember Torah, you got to come in 2 or 3 witnesses. Okay. So now that we have a date from Truth Unveiled 777, and we have an ending date, we're going to do some math and check out if his calendar is 364 days and see, does it fall in spring for his Passover? Okay. So he gave his Passover date. He got it in April the 5th, 2021. Okay. Same thing with Brother Jedediah calendar. Okay. And I'm grateful that he has these 2 calendars, because we're going to see if his calendar is 364 days and see, does his Passover fall in the spring? Okay. And he also give his Passover date over here in the notes. Okay. Takes a while for my eyes to focus to see what is what. Okay. Same thing, he gives the beginning day of the first month, which is Aviv. Okay. And he gives the ending day. I just wish there'd be a little bit more detail, because a person could easily say, oh, I meant the day before, going from the April the 23rd to the April 24th from sundown to sundown. Or they could say, oh, I meant from April the 24th to April the 25th from sundown to sundown. But it doesn't matter, because when we do the math, you're going to see a bigger discrepancy. Okay. Now we'll go back to Truth Unveiled first. We'll do his first. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move some of these tabs around so I don't keep coming back. So that way I can stay on point. Okay. And since I'm doing Truth Unveiled, I'm moving over here. And also he keeps his Sabbath from Friday to Saturday, okay? From Friday to Saturday. Again, I understand why our brothers and sisters are doing this. It's nothing to argue about. When the Messiah comes back, he's gonna all get us on one accord. The most important thing, what I see here, at least they have the understanding or the concept or the idea, we must keep the Most High holy days and not the Gregorian days or the fourth feast calendar days, okay? But I give my brothers credit for posting their calendars. I'm telling you, a lot of them are not willing to do that, okay? So when we look at Truth Unveiled, I hope I'm doing his stuff right. I really do. I hope I said his name right. I'm gonna call him Truth right now, so I won't mess up his name. Well, his channel name. Truth. When we look at his calendar, he has his first day as March the 23rd, sundown, right? And then he had his last day in his calendar record as March the 21st in the year of 2022. Okay, from sundown to sundown, right? Now we're gonna verify this so I can make sure I didn't do any typo error. Okay. So he has first day at March the 23rd, starting at sundown. Okay. And then he has in the 12th month, as the last day is March the 22nd in the year of 2022. Everybody see that? Let's make sure I got over here. March the 22nd and then March the 23rd. Okay, so I probably need to move this over a little bit because he got his ending date as March the 22nd. Make sure. Yeah, so March the 22nd, based on how he has this tight, that would be the ending at sundown. So I did it right. I just want to make sure. Okay. So in this chart that you see here, I'm going to blow it up. Okay, that's better. I got day one as March the 23rd at sundown. That's the first day in his month. I mean, in his year. For the year of 2021 to 2022. For the last day in that year is March the 21st to March the 22nd. Remember, it's going from sundown to sundown. Okay. Now, this is how you can do the math. One of the things you have to know, because we're dealing with a Gentile calendar, remember, these brothers are using a Gentile calendar to, what's the word I'm looking for? When they get the Most High dates, they have to link it to a Gentile calendar because right now our people are still learning about the Most High calendar. So in order for them to know what day is what, this is why they link these dates together, okay? So when you're dealing with the heathens calendar, one of the things you have to keep up, when their month, February, has 29 days instead of 28 days. So you got to keep that in mind, okay? So right here, I did some math. March the 23rd was the first day, going to March the 22nd. And this is how you can do the math, very simple. All you have to do first is add the months that's in between March to March. For example, you're going to add you're going to add April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, and February together. That's what I did first. And this is how I got 334. Now for that year, there was no extra day in February. So it's gonna be 334. Now, to figure out how many days that was in March when he first started, I knew if you count it on the calendar, you can count it yourself. If you count March the 23rd to March the 31st, you're gonna get 9. I'm sorry. This thing that went down too far. You're gonna get 9 right here, okay? If you wanna do it in a mathematical way, I knew if I subtract 31 from 23, you'll get 8. But I have to count 23 to be included. So 8 plus 1, I would still get 9. Now to figure out how many days for the month of March that's ending, he ended on, it really should be the 21st, okay? The 21st. I have my number right over here, make sure. And I do apologize for that error. I'm sitting here trying to pull my calculator up just to make sure that I added up everything right. So 9 plus 334 plus 21 will give you 364. So I had it correct over here. This is why I say I wish they'd be a little more detailed, that calendar. So when somebody's reviewing their calendar, they can make sure they are given the correct day. Okay, because as you see, the Most High Day overlaps. That's why I like doing this method. It's like day 1 is from March the 23rd to March the 24th, from sundown to sundown. Then from March the 21st to March the 22nd, from sundown to sundown, especially when you do these math calculations. This is why you see me have a different number over here. Because like I said, if you have the wrong day, you can calculate the number wrong and thinking that the person actually has 365 in that calendar, but actually they should have 364. So thank you, Father, for revealing that unto us. So in that calendar month, he does have 364. Now, by just knowing this one bit information, you can figure out, and most of the time you can even look at this, you can figure out when the following Passovers or the following years after this, where they're going to end up at. Okay. So the next question I'm going to ask y'all, by looking at this, before we do any math, y'all, if his sun year is 364, every year it's already 364, what do you think is going to happen with his first month, especially when they're tying it or when they are linking it to to the Gentile calendar, which is 365 and 366. What do you think going to happen, y'all? Just by looking at this number here. Because we touched on this, but we touched on this with a different light. But it's the same answer. The same answer. Okay? What do y'all think is going to happen with his first month for every year? Do I have anybody willing to give it a try?
It's gonna keep falling backwards, sis.
You're right. You hit it on the head. Because think about it. This is like, okay, I don't want to say it's simple math, but those who work with numbers all the time like me, when I saw 364, and because I work with this other light known as the moon, I already knew they was going to lose. I mean, they was going to end up starting their year at least a day early, from year to year to year. Okay, and I'm going to show you this in a number, what I mean. And eventually what's going to happen after so many years, because right now this is a small number. So they're losing a day. In other words, they would be starting a day early every year. Just about, depending on how many days are in that Gentile calendar, whether it's 365 or 366. And what's going to be the end result, their Passover is going to start in winter. It's going to start in winter. Okay. So what I did, because y'all going to help me with this chart. Let me see here. Yeah, I started on some of this. I'm going to minimize this just a little bit, y'all, so I can see this better. And because they're using the sun, y'all going to have to literally, I can hardly speak. You're going to have to literally do about 20 years to really see where their calendar going to fall. Okay. So I already started on some of this already. So in the year of 2023 to 2024, as you see here, it begins at sundown, right? See how that ends at March the 22nd at sundown? So it's going to begin on March the 22nd at sundown. And it's going to end for the first day, March the 23rd at sundown in the year of 2023. Okay, that's the first day. All right. Now, because to save time, all right, we're not going to do this part here, fill in this part, but all we need is the first day, because let me tell you why. We just need to add up how many days will fall between the year of 2023 to from 2022 to 2023. Make sure I look at this right. For some reason, as y'all can see, I might have dyslexia. I would cross my numbers up. That's why you always see me keep going back and checking to make sure I calculate right. Okay. So as you see, we're going from 2022 to 2023. Okay. And I see a year left out, which would be 2023. So let me add a year. That's why when you do math calculations, one of the habits I practice, after I calculate something, I take a break and then I come back to it to make sure I did the calculation correctly. Because like I said, the way the Gentile teach us is hard because the Most High days overlap in their day. So you really have to write everything out to see it clearly, like y'all see me doing here in this chart. So I need to get the date for 2023. Okay. Let me see here. I'm trying to think, it was something else. I know February. Okay. And I was making a note to myself that February has 29 days in the year of 2024. So it occurred every 4 years that it would have 29 days. So I was putting a note here to remind myself, y'all, that since we're going forward, the next date that February have 29 days would be in the year of 2028. I add 4 to 24. That's how I get 2028. Okay. All right. So we're going to do this for practice. So his start date is March the 22nd in the year of 2020. So we're going to add this up. We're going to go from March to March, right? How many days, y'all, if we count it from March the 22nd to March the 31st, how many days is that?
10.
You say 10?
You said from March to 22nd? Oh, 9. I was looking
If
at the
we count
21st.
We
from,
did do 10, include the, oh,
yes,
sorry.
right.
Okay.
You're right.
Okay, you're right.
Okay, I'm gonna say this out loud again so everybody can hear me clearly. If we count from March the 22nd to March the 31st on your calendar, how many days is that?
10. 10.
10. Now, I'm gonna give you a number to cheat, so we ain't gonna do all that calculating, okay? If we add up the months from April to February, now keep in mind, first thing you ask yourself, in the year of 2023, will February have 28 days or 29 days?
28.
28. So if it has 28 days, you will automatically have 334 days. I already did the math for you because we added the month of April to February. If somebody want to check behind me, you can. Add up the months from April to February. I can give you numbers off top. April have 30 days. May have 31. June has 30. July has 31. August have 31. September has 30 days. October has 31 days. November has 30 days. December have 31 days. January has 31 days. And when they're not in leap year, February have 28 days. You add all that up, you get 334. When there is a leap year, you will have 335. Reason why I know this, y'all, because I'm telling you, when I do the calendar, and I got to link it to that heathen calendar, it's a lot. But it got to be done to show you that the heathens do not follow Torah either. Their calendar is off. Because when they get 366, y'all, guess what I get? I get 365. When I get 366, guess what they get? They get 365. Now you begin to understand you got to check behind. How can I say it? You have to check behind the Gentiles and you have to check behind your brother. It's not saying that they didn't do their due diligence. It's just that we have to make sure that these things are correct. It's just like balancing a checkbook. All the numbers got to come balance out. Okay. So we say 10 days. And so we add the month of April to February, we get 334 days. Okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm going to treat this as a 364 days. Okay, I'm going to treat it as 364, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to add 10 to, I'm sorry, y'all. We're going to add 10 to 334. Add 10 to 334. What do y'all get?
344.
344. Okay. I'm sorry, this is a small print. I need to blow this up for y'all so y'all can really see what I'm doing. Now he said his counter is based off of 364, right? Yes. So the next step we got to do what? The next step, we got to take 364 minus
344.
344, right? And what you get?
20.
20. So his last day in the month should be March 20, right? To get 364. That's how you can figure it out. And we're going to compare. So in his upcoming year, he's going to start this year in March the 23rd, right?
Right.
Now notice we did the math. Okay, we did the math. That year completed, it was 364 days. When that year completed, which he already gave us the date from here, that year, the second year would start on March the 22nd, right? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sis. Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. Yes.
Yes.
So when you already compared the first year to the second year, did he not lose a day?
Yes.
It's pushing him back, right?
Mm-hmm. I see it.
Let's see if the same thing going to happen again when we get to the third year. When we get to the third year, well, we get to the 364. Okay, I see what I did. When we get to the third year, we already got the end date for the second year. The end date is March the 20th, right?
Right.
So his next day would be the 21st. Okay, let's compare. For the year, for the second year, right here, number 2, going across the line. That year started on March the 22nd, right?
Yes.
And in the third year, and in the third year, it's gonna start on March the 21st.
Yeah.
We're losing a day, right? It's pushing it back. Now, right now, he may say, well, I'm okay because I'm around the equinox. That's what they're gonna say. I'm not talking about these brothers in Pacific. I'm just talking about when you deal with other people. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. This is why I'm telling you, you have to do about a 20 year. Even if they say, well, we don't do projection, we don't go in the future. Well, guess what? So all you gotta do what? Work this thing backwards. It don't matter. The math ain't gonna lie. You can work it backwards.
True. That's right.
Or you can work it forward.
No, yeah, we can't be doing nothing backwards. That's right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if they telling you, well, we don't do projection, we kind of wait till it happens.
4 minus 3, 44 plus 20.
Okay. Do y'all see now where I'm going with this? So whether they go backwards, whether we calculate it backwards or calculate it forward, you're gonna see a drastic change. Okay, let's do another one. So here we see for year 3, it's March the 21st, right? Let's do the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hold on for 1 second, y'all. I got to make sure I did that math right, because I'm telling y'all, when you're doing these numbers, I got to make sure I include February. So, okay, we good, because we're going from the 22nd to the 23rd. Woo, thank y'all. Because we got to keep up with this February thing here to know when to add this extra day. So we're going put this here. Okay. Now we're going from the year of 2023 to the year of 2024, okay? So looking at March the 20th, how many days are there from March the 20th to March the 31st?
So 11? She said March.
From what day again?
11, sis.
Okay, from March the 20th to March the 31st.
It'll be 11.
Yes, 11.
11. Do we have 28 days or 29 days in February?
29.
29, because we're going into year of 2024. So because we have 29 days, instead of 334, it's now going to be 335. Okay. Add them two together, what y'all get?
40. Oh no, 146. I mean, 346, 346.
346, right? I'm going to take something out because I don't want no more. I don't want to be. It's over here. I wrote over here. I don't, because we're doing this fresh. As y'all see, I had started on it some, but anyway, I tell you, when I calculate numbers, sometimes I had to come back and recheck myself. So I took that off. Okay. 346. So the next thing we have to do, we got to figure out when that year we're in. Okay. So what do we have to do next with the 346?
Divide it.
Do we divide?
Minus. Sorry.
Minus. Okay.
Minus.
So like we did with the other one, we're going to take 364 minus 346. Okay. What do y'all get?
18.
18. So this day is going to end. I'm just going to say to save time. It's going to end March the 18th. Okay. In the year of 2024 to get 364. Okay. So if it ends on March the 18th, then the day, remember we're going from sundown to sundown. Then it's going to start on March the 18th. Wow. Big change. Go back up here. See how in year 2, it started in March the 22nd. In the year of 2022. Okay. In the third year, it starts on March the 18th. We got about a 4-day difference already. You guys see how it's pushing it back?
Yes, sis. I see that.
Yes, yes.
But when you come with them with information like this, this still is not enough. You gotta just take it all the way out. I'm serious. I'm telling y'all. I'm not saying with these, but I'm just talking about with people that I have dealt with in the past, and I know Israel mindset. You just can't come with this a few years. You got to show them a good amount to show that it's going to push it all the way back in February. Because numbers don't lie. Okay. And you think about it, they are what? Connecting the calendar to a Gregorian calendar that's 365. So you cannot, in other words, you cannot omit days. And you're going to see what happened when somebody omitted days. It's not in this calendar, but we're going to look at the next calendar. Okay. Let's keep going. So remember, for February in the year 2028, then it's going to have 29 days. So I did put it down here lower so I can remind myself. So now we got to figure out what would be the last day for this year, because they're going by what? 364, right? So March the 18th, count from March the 18th to March the 31st. How many days is that?
You said which 2 dates?
14.
March the 18th to March the 31st. How many days is that?
13.
14.
14. And I tell you what, to help y'all see it better, get your Gregorian calendar out. And you can see it better. Because when you do the math, when you're doing subtraction, depending on what the question is asking you, sometimes it asks for the difference, or sometimes it will ask you what was the total numbers. Okay. So this is how we get that extra 1 in. So when I'm looking at from March the 18th to March the 31st, when you subtract, yes, it would be 13. But when I'm looking at the total numbers, it'll be 14. Okay. Even if you go from the 18th to the 19th and count it as 1 day, and you do that for the rest of the year, you're still gonna get the same numbers. There's many ways to do this, but at the end result, you would get the same number.
Okay.
Okay. So we just said what, 14 days, right? Does February has 28 or 29 days for the year of 2025?
28.
It'd be 28.
28.
28 days. So because it has 28 days, we're going to use the 334. Would somebody add those two numbers, 14 plus 334?
That would be 348.
348. What's the next step we have to do, y'all? To figure out what's the last day in this month based on a 364 day.
Subtract.
364.
Subtract.
340.
Subtract what?
366. I mean 64. 364 minus 348.
364 minus 348. And what y'all get?
16.
16. So the last day in this month, and I'm trying to figure out, I should put down here. So when I share this document with y'all, y'all know it's based on the 364 day. Because the way the chart is organized, it's go from what it's only give you from a day to day. But I don't have time to add extra rows. So the 364 day is March the 16th for the year of 2025. Now y'all see why I have to write this down, because I'm telling you, you will get yourself confused if you don't write this out. Let me see what I got here. Trying to make sure I numbered this right. I'm just going back and checking something right quick. Day 1, that's right. Then the ending day is that day, that's right. That's how we got that. Okay, that's year 3. All right, okay, so I did put that in the right spot. Okay. So they should start in their 4th year, March the 16th. Isn't that something, y'all? Okay. Ooh. Now, this for the sake of this video, because I know those who are watching can't watch us work all the way down to the end. We're going to pause there, but like as y'all see, as each year go by, it's decreasing, not increasing. And it's working itself towards February. And I was trying to help y'all out by doing it early, but as you can see, I had the numbers mixed up in my head. But what's eventually going to happen, they're going to work themselves down to February. Somewhere between, I would say it has to be somewhere between the 14th to the 17th year. They're going to end up in the February month. And it's going to keep going further and further. Because what I learned from when I went to their website, I was just looking over the information. What I learned is because what happened was they only, what's the word? It's not that they read a part of those books, but they only focused on a certain scripture and they didn't come in the whole volume. When you come in the whole volume, it will eliminate of you overlooking this error. But even when they start keeping this counter, they should notice how these days are being pushed back. Okay. And after this video made, I'm not talking about them, but what I know is about some people, you can show them the math, but what they may do now with their calendar records, they may hide it and only just spoon feed people because they don't want to be honest about they made an error, or in other words, they don't want to address it. I'm not talking about these brothers, but I'm just talking about from the ones I dealt with in the past that I know for a fact they, what's the word, underhandedly started along with us. In other words, they had different dates from us, but all of a sudden now they're coming along with our days, coming along aligned with our days. And they did it underhandedly instead of announcing to the public, we made a mistake. Now we understand what Enoch is telling us, such as that is a 13th month. So other than that, they won't be honest. And they don't realize the Father look at that. And that determines whether he will bless you. Okay. All right. So that was Truth Unveiled calendar. Okay. And if you're watching this video, Truth Unveiled, again, I want to thank you for posting your calendar information. Please do not take what I say as an offense. Again, it's just to edify us all. It's just that when it comes to math and numbers, that's one of my gifts. And everything has to align. Okay. And the word is the word. You got to have barley for the Passover. Got to have it. Can't have it. You cannot have the Passover or the Feast of Unleavened Bread without the barley. Okay. So I hope that you don't take what I say in the wrong way. And if you don't understand anything I said, this go to the Father and ask him to expound on this. Okay. But I do thank you for bringing the 364 to our attention. All right, now we're gonna look at Brother Jedediah. Okay, so I went to his site. Okay, I have this post on the document, so y'all can just review for learning purposes. His calendar too is based off of 364 days. So what I like about his site, he gives you two calendars, so you can actually see where each year that he's keeping is 364 days. Okay. So here, let me minimize this down some so we can see the whole picture. Okay. So let me go to his calendar first. He got the first day of his year for the year of, I had to scroll down. For the year of 2018 to 2019, he has the first day as March the 15th. Okay, the first day, March the 15th. Let me check to make sure I have that date listed correctly. Okay, I have the first day as March the 15th. Then for his last day in this month, he has March the 13th, 2019. Let me see if I have what I got on this sheet. So he got March the 13th, 2019 as the last day. Okay. So when I did the math, I went ahead and did the math for y'all. It was nice. And the reason I'm chuckling because I understand. I mean, you think about the way our brains work. What's the word I'm looking for here? Some of us gifted in math, but for me, y'all, I do not like English. I don't like grammar. I don't like literature. So my stronger attributes are on math and science. My weaker attributes is on English. So what I'm sharing with you, do not feel bad if you're not strong in math. Remember, in the body of the Messiah, the Father have us to work as one. So where you may be lacking or weak in one area, don't worry about it. Your brother or your sister got you. We are to bring our gifts together and work as one. Okay. We're not supposed to, oppress our brethren because of the gifts we bear, but we are to bring them together as one. Just as a man and wife is one, they work in unison. Just as the Elohim head is one, they work in unison. And that's the same with the body. Okay. So when I did the math on this, like I say, it can be give or take a day or two. I got from 2018 to 2019, I do have 364 days for him. 364 days. Okay, give or take a two. Okay. Now, he didn't have his second year listed. So how I was able to get the date, I just looked at what he had last. He said the end of the year for him was March the 13th. Now, I do need to check this just to make sure I did my math correctly and see how he has this set up. And see, like I said, it makes it hard if you don't know if it's from sundown to sundown, as far as we don't know if it's March the 12th to the 13th or March 13th to the 14th. Hard to say. But I'm going with what my gut tells me. Okay. So my gut says that if he say it ends on March the 13th at sundown, I'm going ahead and change this number to the 13th, and you'll see why. Like I said, give or take a day. Okay. So March the 13th in the year of 2019 AD. Right? So again, to figure out, okay, so we don't have to figure this out because he gave us the year of he gave us the year of 2020 to 2021. Okay. So when we look on his calendar, let's get that date to make sure I got everything listed correctly. So I got to scroll back up. So when we look at the beginning date for the year of 2020 to year of 2021, we get March the 26th, 2020 as the first day in his year. Okay. The last day in his year will be March the 25th in the year of 2021. 2021. Okay. So to make sure I put down those dates correctly. So March the 26th to March the 25th. So I got March the 26th to March the 25th, which is perfect. So if it's from March the 26th to March the 25th, from sundown to sundown, then this number here should be March the 26th. March the 26th. Okay. So we go from sundown to sundown. Do y'all see now how you can get what their date should be, even if you don't have all their calendar records? Just put the pieces of the puzzle together. I want to make sure, did everybody see that part?
Yes, sis.
Okay. Now for the math, I got to recalculate this. Okay, so when we count March the 13th to March the 31st, how many days is that? From March the 13th to March the 31st on your calendar.
That's
That 29?
From March the 13th to
19.
March the 31st?
oh the third. Oh, okay, that's 18 days.
18 days. Somehow I put 18. You see how my brain is? So I had that part right. Now, all these numbers you see here is what I added between that month, okay? That's what you see here. This is April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and then March. Okay.
I'm sorry. You said March. You said March. You said how many days from the March 13th through the 31st?
Mm-hmm.
But
And
aren't
we
you
got,
supposed to include that one, the 13th?
let me see, make
So
sure.
wouldn't that be 19?
19, sis.
19. Thank y'all.
I was just making sure I wasn't tripping.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're right,
That's
sis.
fine. That's
You're right,
look.
sis.
That's why we doing this together.
Okay.
That's why I told y'all get your calculators out.
I'm sorry. Can you
Yeah.
repeat that? Why it's 19?
Okay.
Because you
What-
include in the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh. And that's why I said will also help get your Gregorian calendar out and count from March the 13th to March the 31st. And that'll help you see it too. And it should be 19 days. Okay. Now, in the year of 2020, will February have 28 days or 29 days? Now we know in the year of 2024, February had 29 days.
28.
28.
Okay. If February had 29 days in the year of 2024, let me put this over here so y'all can see what I'm talking about.
What year you said?
2024.
Oh, then 29.
29 days, sis.
29.
Mm-hmm.
Now with his count, I'm able to work what? Backwards. Not backwards, but it's not the word backwards. I'm thinking about February. That's why I'm saying backwards, because we got to go what? Down. Because when we started with the other brother calendar, his years was past brother Jedediah years. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. So for the year of 2020, February should have 29 days, right? And how many days we have for March in the year of 2020? March the 26th. In the year of 2020, how many days?
I think it's 31 for March. No.
Okay. Right here. If I'm in it on March the 26th in the year of 2020, how many days is that? We ended on March the 26th. I'm gonna give it to y'all. 26, because I want y'all to overthink this.
Yeah, I about to say 26.
Okay. Now, all these numbers that we had here before, remember we were adding with February. We already did the sum of that. It's actually gonna be 335. Okay, 335. And that's dealing from April to February. Let me type this in here. April to February. Okay, so when we add 19 plus 335, what do you get?
$354.
354. And then we got to add the other days of the March, right? 354 plus 26. What do you get?
380.
You get 380. Now I rechecked this. I'm like, huh? I was like, what? Do y'all see this now?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And y'all check behind me because it's always have, one head is better than the other head. When we look at the first year, we're looking at the last day of this year based on his calendar. The last day is March the 13th. We make sure. I don't want to say something wrong. You got it as, let's see here, I gotta go down here. March the 13th, everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. I got here March the 13th. So if you start from sundown to sundown on this day, and you're saying this is the last day of that year, we would start with March the 13th at sundown, right? Right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Making sure y'all there.
We're here.
Now, we're going back to his calendar. Okay, we got to look at the other year he has posted. He said that the beginning of the year for the year of 2020 to 2021 is March to 26, right?
Right.
Okay. As you see here, I got March to 26. Let me take that out. Okay. For the last day in that month, he has March the 25th in the year of 2021, right?
Right.
Okay. Make sure I got that listed. Because I'm looking, like I said, the reason why I'm rechecking, because I'm looking at these numbers. And we're going to make sure we did the math right. Okay. Because he says, because for the calendar he's following, he's supposed to follow what? 364. 364. Okay. So I'm going to highlight the days of March to make sure we didn't do this math wrong. Okay. And I want somebody to add these numbers up. I'll put the rest of these in, let's see what I pop these in orange or something, a darker color. No, purple should be fine. Make it bold. Oh, it was bold. Let me underline it. Okay. Can somebody add these numbers up? I'm going to say them out loud with the month. April, 30 days. May, 31 days. June, 30 days. July, 31 days. August, 31 days. September, 30 days. October, 31 days. November, 30 days. December, 31 days. January, 31. And February, 29. What do y'all get?
335.
335, right? So add 335 to 19. What you get?
354.
354 plus 26.
380.
Do y'all see this now? I'm gonna highlight it. Now let's say he might say, well, I didn't do, okay, he might say you don't have your first day right or your last day right. Now it's not that much room for that. You can only have a one, I would say about plus or minus one off. You understand what I'm saying? But he could say I could have started March the 12th to the 13th, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So we say I'm plus or minus one off. Okay. Let's say that I'm off that, right? But let me back that up. He may say, well, you know, the sun and the moon started in the 4th day of creation. So, you know, you're automatically off 4 days. Okay. Let's give him that. No, I'm just saying in general, I'm not saying him, but I'm just thinking of what are the things that he could say, right? So when you take 380 minus 4, you get 376. Okay, because they're looking at creation timeline. Remember, for us, we know that each day is 1,000 years, but for them, they interpret it as 24 hours. Okay. Now, far as my first day and my last day for the second year, from the year of 2019 to 2020, he may say, well, your beginning day and your end day was off. Okay, so the only room for that could be off plus or minus a day, which is 1. 376 minus 1 will give me 375. So no matter, you know, no matter if, what's the word I'm looking for, y'all? No matter if there was a calculation error due to the dates that he has listed, if I had interpreted incorrectly, y'all, this number is too large to contest it. Do y'all see this?
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
This is why I tell y'all the numbers don't lie. Now I'm aware people can manipulate numbers, but this is why I did the calculation in this recording with y'all together to make sure that I'm not looking at something wrong. Okay, now we're gonna look at year 3. He said in the year of March to 2020, he has his first day as March to 26th that you see here, right? That's the first day.
Yes.
And we can go ahead and scroll that. Then he got the last day as March the 25th in the year of 2021. So you see, I got that listed here with the right date. So this is day 1. And we're going to figure out what day would this be. Would this be a 365 day or 364? So when we look at March the 26th, how many days is it from March the 26th to March the 31st, y'all?
6.
6 days. How many days is it when we get to the next year when the date is March the 25th? How many days in March? How many days is March when we get to March the 25th in the year of 2021? How many days is that?
25.
25. Okay. From the year of 2020, from March 2020 to March the 21st, with February has 28 days or 29 days?
28.
28 days, very important. Okay. So if February has 28 days, what is the total number we're going to work with from April to February? Would it be 334 or would it be 335? Because February only has 28 days.
334.
Okay, 334. All right. So now we're going to add. What is 6 plus 334?
340.
340. What is 340 plus 25?
365.
365. Do y'all see this? I'm going to highlight it.
Yes.
Now, again, my brother, this is not to, what's the word? Not to offend you, because when I have done math, I had some overlooked errors. And if it wasn't for my Father in heaven bringing this to my attention, I would not have been aware of this. So this is not to call you out. Again, I thank you for posting your information, because not too many people are sharing the calendar information so people can learn. So I'm not coming against you. It's just that when I saw the 364, and because of what the Father taught me about these 3 lights and what happens when you come with a number that's lesser than 365 a quarter and 366, you're going to run into this problem. Now, I know you're going to probably say, well, you're going to have the same problem with the moon. No, I won't, brother. You got to go back and read Enoch's writing. He told you what the Father does with the moon. So she won't be 10 days behind. Go back and read Enoch's writings and you'll see it. Okay. So I highlight that too. So in the year of 2019 to 2020, he would have 380 days instead of 364. In the year of 2020 to 2021, he would have 365 days instead of 364. Again, please do not look our brothers, look down on them. Okay, please don't do that, because I've been there. In other words, you know how you've been at a level where you think you got the full understanding, but later on you find out from the Father that there was another piece to this. Okay.
Yes, sis.
So this is, and I'm telling those who watching this video, because I know how the tares and how the serpents are. They'll go back and say, well, you know, Sister Yidia was criticizing your calendar and putting it. No, Sister Yidia was using that calendar for a teaching moment to understand there's math involved in this. Even the prophets was given formulas. And these same formulas are used by the Gentiles. How you think the Gentiles got the almanac that's printed in the 1611? Okay. So I've been there where y'all at. In other words, I understand when you think that you know, but then the Father say, hey, it's another part to this. Okay. So I hope this was an edifying moment for you as well as for us, because by us learning your calendar too, it helped edify us in this calendar that we are keeping. And from let me see, can I bring it back up? And from looking at your information, what it did, it confirmed that Torah is correct with the foundation. Torah is right. We have to follow the 3 lights, and your calendar must consist of the 3 lights. It must have the days. It must have the months and the days of the sun on it. It must have the months and the days of the moon on it. And it must have the date when the sun entered to each sign of Mazzaroth. That is the foundation that he set for his calendar. It's something else the Father he's reminded me to do, and I'm trying to remember, what was it? Oh, we're supposed to go to this word, etymology, because I am aware that brothers and sisters been to you and said that it's not the month, where did the word month come from? You go to etymology. Hope y'all can see this. It says here on the online etymology dictionary, because Brother Al's deep on words now. That brother got me paying attention about words. It says here, heavenly body which revolves around the earth monthly. Now I know with the Gentiles, they have their own interpretation what these planets and stars would do. Okay, I'm just gonna read the definition word for word. Okay, y'all. Middle English mon, from Old English mana, from Proto-Germanic menon, source also of Old Saxon and Old High German mano, Old Fitzian mana, Old Norse mani, Danish Maani, Dutch Maan, German Mon, Gothic Mena, all means what? Moon. But you can see with the translation that they bear some similarities, right? Let's keep going. From pi, another word for that, menses, which is moon or month. And when I read this word, it reminds me of what a woman go through from her monthly, right? Okay. And it's not the moon compared to a she. Just like the sun is a he. Mazzaroth for he. The earth is a she. But let's keep going, y'all. Source also of the Sanskrit masha. Now this comes from the from this word here, masha, comes from the Sanskrit. Moon, which means moon, month. Avestan, ma, Persian, ma. Armenian, mis, which means month. In the Greek, they say meni, which means moon. Men, month. In the Latin, they said menses, month. Do you see how this relates to us, sisters?
Yes.
Okay. Old Church Slavic, mesisai. In the Lithuanian, they said menises, month, which means moon or month. Old Irish, my. West, miss. Britain, miss. Okay. So as you see all these words in different languages, go back to the word moon. I can hear y'all. From
you need to go, but make sure you still have some.
hold on. I'm about to help her out. So then when nobody hear a conversation. Okay. Oh, from the root word, now this is the root word, ME, hyphen, to measure, in reference to the moon phases as an ancient and universal measure of time. I just get so tickled because, you know, all those verses in the Bible that we talked about from the prior gatherings, you know, should be setting off light bulbs and fireworks, right? Now I'm trying to see what else. I'm not going to read all of this word for word, but what I'm saying unto you, my brothers, okay, and to everyone who's listening, when you meditate on the word month, where does it come from? Does it come from the name or from the word sun, S-U-N? Or does it come from solar, S-O-L-R? I mean, S-O-L-A-R. Does it come from that, y'all? Think about it. Where does this word moon and month come from? What is the root of it? I just gave it away, didn't I? Well, so when you meditate on the word month, y'all, it comes from the word moon after that light. So when you're reading the scriptures, what the scriptures is telling you, the moon dictate unto you the month. The sun dictate unto you when the day begin and end. And the sun worked with Mazzaroth to dictate unto you when the seasons begin and end. Also, the moon would declare when the year begin and end. That is a mystery. Really, well, we'll back that up. Not a mystery when the Spirit give you the understanding and the fullness of all these things. Okay? So for those, again, the way I look at it, if you're keeping a solar calendar based on the 364 days, make sure your calendar add up to 364. You may want to look at changing the month to something that relates to solar, because when you use the word month, you're telling us you are still going back to the moon. Something to think about, y'all. Something to think about. So going back to this picture here, because we're going to end the recording, okay? But for our group, we probably well, I know we're going to talk about the rest of those calculations when we look at truth calendar. But what I'm saying unto y'all, number one, I hope you enjoyed this edification. I did, because I'm always learning something, y'all. Because number one, I don't know everything. What I do know, the Father is, what I do know, y'all, is because the Father gave it to me. It comes from Him. It don't come from my mind. It comes from Him, and I thank Him for that. So I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, this evening we're going to have a reading challenge. Please come, and I would love for those that can come, if you can participate. It's a very simple challenge. It's nothing complex. Okay, we're just going to be sharing scriptures that's not being taught, whether they are Israelites or Gentiles. It's not being preached. It's not being taught. Okay, and that'll be at 8 o'clock tonight. Also, check out the prophetic dream that the Father gave unto me, so you know what season you're in now. We're no longer in the apostasy. We are no longer in the apostasy season now. We are in the season of perfection, the season of 21. Okay. Make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10, because y'all, we can see the signs manifested in the heaven and the earth. For we know the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and it's truly at hand. It's drawing nigher and nigher every day. So make sure the people receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10. Baptize the people in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. For the Lamb set the example of the water baptism and the Holy Spirit baptism. And the apostle did them both too. If you have no one to baptize you, you can do it yourself. For the water is the second witness in the earth, and the Father has poured his Spirit upon all His creations, and they go back and report unto Him. I just gave y'all 2 witnesses today that He talks to, which is the heaven and the earth. Okay? So if you have no one to baptize you, you can do it yourself. Go in your bathroom, your swimming pool, wherever there is water, ye shall be baptized, as the Egyptian eunuch said. All right, y'all. Love you all. And looking forward to the next family gathering.
Outstanding.
My sister, thank you, thank you.
Y'all are welcome. And guess what? I thank y'all because y'all, we are building, we are growing as a family of y'all. We are learning from each other. As you see, there's no one higher than each other. We work as one, as the body work as one, because you know I'm into healthcare, so I know about the systems of the body. And I'm telling y'all, no system say to the other system, I can outdo you or that. You know, even the toe don't talk jump to the head, and the head don't talk toe, and the head don't talk jump to the toe, because they know they need each other. And that's where the Father designed us to be. Right. If we bring our gifts together, our parts together, y'all, do you know what we can accomplish in the body of the Messiah? We can do some great things. All right, y'all. Love y'all. And shalom. And family, family, stay on. I'm gonna stop the recording. But I'm telling the audience, I love them. And looking forward to the next time when we meet. Shalom. Okay, now I get the recording to stop it. I gotta find it. Here you go. Yes, I want to